Hey there, and welcome back to Reddit Confessions, the place where truth stings louder than fiction. Buckle up, because today's story isn't about revenge. It's about quiet collapse, and how letting go can be louder than screaming. It started the moment she laughed at my toast. Not laughed with me, laughed at me. I had spent 20 minutes that morning buttering the slices just right, sprinkling that stupid cinnamon sugar she used to love. She didn't ask for it. I just did it. Habit, I guess. She walked past the kitchen island, saw the plate, and actually chuckled. Still trying? She muttered, and bit into an energy bar instead. No thanks. No smile. Just that smirk. That was the first honest moment in weeks, and it shattered me more than any screaming match ever could. Let me tell you something. Silence is a lot louder when it's the only thing you're getting back. See, I used to think love faded gradually, like autumn, a slow fall of leaves. But this was a blackout. One morning I was someone she kissed before work. Now I was a background object she tiptoed around like a creaky floorboard. She started sleeping with her back to me, started locking her phone during dinner, started staying late without a hint of guilt. And I kept telling myself it was just stress. But deep down, I knew, and I was too weak to name it. I didn't want confrontation. I didn't want answers. I wanted to wake up one morning and pretend it was all just a bad season. Instead, I woke up to a text meant for someone else. It lit up at 2:11 a.m. while she slept beside me. You wore me out tonight. Couldn't stop thinking about your laugh. My hands shook so badly I dropped the phone on the floor. She stirred, rolled over, mumbled something like, "Everything okay?" I whispered, "Yeah," like an idiot, like a coward. I didn't confront her. I just laid there for 4 hours, listening to her breathing, counting the seconds between each exhale like they were ticking off the death of everything I'd built. I went to work the next day, printed out the text message, and folded it into an envelope. That evening, I made her favorite soup, tomato basil, and set the table with the good dishes we only used for company. She didn't say a word about the effort, didn't comment on the candles, just ate quietly while scrolling on her phone. Then I handed her the envelope. "What's this?" she asked, still chewing. I didn't say anything. She opened it, read it, blinked. Nothing. No apology. No panic. Just the tiniest flicker of inconvenience in her eyes, like I'd interrupted her mid-scroll. And then she said the sentence that shattered what little I had left of my spine. "Okay, yeah, I've been seeing someone. You just don't challenge me anymore." Challenge? As if marriage was a chess match and I forgot to bring my queen. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just said, "Do you want to stay?" She paused. And then she said something I'll never forget. "I thought you'd beg me to." That's when I smiled for the first time in months. I stood up, walked to the hallway closet, pulled out her overnight bag, laid it gently on the table beside her plate. No yelling, no theatrics. "I won't beg," I said. She stared at the bag, then at me. Her mouth opened, probably to throw one last insult. But nothing came out, because for the first time since all of this started, I was the one who walked away first. And that's when things really started unraveling. Not for me, but for her. She didn't leave that night. You'd think after being exposed, after hearing me, of all people, tell her I wouldn't beg, she'd rush into her little affair partner's arms. But no, she sat on the couch for hours like she was frozen in time, hugging that stupid overnight bag like a child clinging to a stuffed animal. I walked past her on the way to bed, didn't say a word, didn't even look at her. For the first time in our marriage, I felt still. Not angry, not broken, just done. The kind of done that doesn't need closure. When I woke up, she was gone. Not out of the house, just not in the bed. I found her in the kitchen, wearing one of my old shirts, staring at the microwave like it had insulted her. She said, "I didn't sleep." I nodded. I did. Her eyes narrowed like I'd committed some new betrayal by not tossing and turning all night over her infidelity. She opened her mouth, maybe to defend herself, maybe to lie again, but nothing came out. I poured myself a cup of coffee. "So, Are you going to pack, or do I have to help you? That's when the switch flipped. You're seriously kicking me out? She snapped, as if I had been the one texting people at 2 a.m. She actually had the nerve to act offended, to perform heartbreak, like I was throwing away something sacred. I didn't flinch. I just sipped my coffee. You said I don't challenge you anymore, I said calmly. So go find someone who makes life harder. She slammed the counter and stormed off. She didn't pack. She just left, again, like she always did when things weren't on her terms. That afternoon, I changed the locks, took the day off work, and had a locksmith there within 2 hours. I even boxed up her essentials and left them by the door, labeled and neat. No yelling, no accusations, just quiet detachment. But the next day, that's when the real unraveling began. Around 4 p.m., I got a string of calls from her number. I didn't pick up. Then came the texts. Why are the locks changed? Kyle, this is insane. You're not even going to talk to me? I didn't mean it like that. Oh, now she didn't mean it like that? Funny how clarity hits when the door slams behind you. But the message that made me pause wasn't from her. It was from an unknown number. Hey, I didn't know she was married. Sorry, man. I thought you should know she told me you two were separated. Dean, my blood went cold. Not because of his name, not because of his apology, but because of the finality of it. Because this was real now. No more denial. No more, maybe she's just unhappy. She'd rewritten our life to this guy like I was some ex she couldn't shake. And he was dumb enough to believe it. I replied just one sentence. Thanks for telling me. You're not the one who broke anything. And I meant it, because she was the one who handed me scissors and begged me to keep pretending it was rope. That night, she showed up banging on the door like she was the victim. I didn't answer. I just watched from the upstairs window as she paced the porch, her mascara streaking, hair wild. Like she was suddenly realizing her plan didn't come with a backup. She even shouted, "You're seriously throwing away 12 years? 12 years. She threw them away the second she let someone else tuck her hair behind her ear. She eventually left again, and I haven't heard her voice since. But I know this isn't over. She's not done. Not even close. Because women like her, women who are used to being adored no matter how they treat you, don't walk away quietly. They implode. And I could already hear the ticking. It only took her 3 days to go from stonewalling me to acting like I was the one who betrayed her. That Saturday, while I was cleaning out the fridge, a knock came at the door. I looked through the peephole and, surprise, there she was, not crying this time. No overnight bag. No drama. Just standing there like she still had a key in her pocket and an apology hiding behind her tongue. I opened the door halfway, enough to hear her but not enough to invite her in. You changed the locks, she said, already bracing for war. I nodded. I did. She let out a dry laugh. Wow, that's cold. Not as cold as lying to someone for months, I replied. But yeah, brisk. She rolled her eyes. Okay, you've made your point. Can we talk like adults now? That sentence did something to me. Like I was the immature one for reacting to her affair with anything but polite detachment. I told her if she had something to say, she could say it from the porch. I wasn't playing the let's sit down and rewrite history game. Not anymore. So she tried. She stood there, arms folded like a disappointed teacher, and gave me the weakest, most rehearsed excuse I've ever heard. It wasn't serious. It wasn't even emotional. It just happened. I felt invisible and stupid and lonely, and I guess I just needed to feel something. Invisible. She used my word, the one I'd been thinking for months. But when she said it, it sounded like a defense. When I felt it, it was just reality. I know I hurt you, she added. But I never wanted to lose what we had. I don't know what she thought what we had even meant at that point. Loyalty? Trust? Sunday mornings in bed with coffee and bad movies? All of it had been paper-thin lies by then, and the wind had already blown through. Still, part of me, the sad, pathetic part, wanted to forgive her. Not because I thought she deserved it, but because I didn't know who I was without being her husband. But then she dropped the bomb. I told Dean it was over. I blocked him. Dean. The other guy. So now she was giving me the scraps, hoping I'd thank her for finally acting like a wife after shattering every promise she made. I stared at her. You want credit for cleaning up the mess you made? She actually looked surprised, like she genuinely believed cutting off her affair partner would earn her some kind of redemption. I just want to fix this, she said. But you're making it impossible. There it was. The twist. The emotional boomerang. The same woman who betrayed me, who made me question my own worth, now wanted to paint me as the obstacle to repair. You want to fix this? I said. Then start by admitting it wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Because she knew. And worse, she knew that I knew. After a long pause, she mumbled, I'll give you space. She turned and walked down the steps like she was the noble one now. Like she was doing me a favor. I shut the door and just stood there. You'd think that would be the end of it, that she'd finally crawl back into the corner of her life where I used to fit, and leave me in peace. But what came next wasn't peace. It was chaos. That evening, my sister called. She sounded weird, panicked. You okay? She asked. I guess. Why? You should check Facebook. That sentence froze my spine. I logged on, and there it was, a long, cryptic post from Justine, written in that vague, manipulative tone cheaters use to control the narrative. Sometimes people push you away because they're too scared to let you in. I tried. I begged. I bled. But you can't make someone see your worth when they're addicted to their pain. There were already comments. Friends of hers and mine giving her sympathy, telling her she deserved better, asking if she was okay. One even said, if he can't see your value, someone else will. I sat there, hand shaking over my mouse, staring at a version of myself I didn't recognize. The cold husband, the emotional manipulator, the one who pushed her away. She wasn't just rewriting our marriage. She was rewriting me. And I knew then, without a doubt, this wasn't just going to be painful. It was going to be public. And I had two choices. Let her burn my reputation to save her own, or light a match of my own. I didn't respond to her Facebook post. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I knew that's exactly what she was baiting me for. She wanted a scene. She wanted validation. She wanted people to see her as some tragic figure, wounded and poetic, limping away from a loveless marriage she'd supposedly tried to save. But that wasn't the story I was living. She wasn't limping. She was dancing with a man named Dean in hotel rooms I paid for. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal. It was the realization that she was good at it. Like too good. She had crafted an entire alternative version of our relationship. And not just in her head. In texts, in stories she told her friends, even in therapy. Yeah, that's right. I found out she'd been going to therapy for months. Alone. At first, I was relieved. I thought, maybe she was trying to fix herself. Maybe she knew she was spiraling. But then I saw the invoice on our shared medical portal. One of the sessions was titled, Discussing Partners' Emotional Neglect. Felt like someone threw a bucket of acid on me. I was the one who rubbed her back when she had migraines. I was the one who handled the bills, the groceries, her car registration. I folded her laundry, including the little socks she refused to air dry. I knew the names of her coworkers, the flavor of tea she drank when she was stressed, the stupid dream she had about drowning in glitter once, and somehow I was the one labeled emotionally neglectful? I called her. She didn't answer. I waited 10 minutes and then sent her a voice message. You can lie to yourself all you want, I said. But lying to a therapist? That's next level. If you're rewriting history, you could at least give me a decent villain arc. She left it on read. That silence, it hit different. It wasn't indifference, it was strategy. She was building her defense. She wasn't trying to save the marriage anymore. She was trying to justify its destruction. And then the line got crossed. I was grocery shopping the next evening, standing in the produce aisle trying to remember if I had any onions at home, when I heard my name behind me. It was Maxine, one of Justine's friends, the kind I only saw at group dinners or birthdays. She looked tense, arms folded, like she'd been waiting for this. Hey, Elliott, she said, her voice tight. Rough week, huh? I forced a smile. Something like that. She hesitated, then said, "Look, I know it's none of my business, but if you really were struggling emotionally, there were better ways to deal with it than shutting her out." I blinked. "Excuse me?" She sighed like she pitied me. "I'm just saying, Justine told us everything. About the loneliness, the breakdowns, the way you wouldn't touch her for months." I almost dropped the bag of apples in my hand. That's when it hit me. She'd been preparing for this for months, quietly feeding her friends a distorted version of reality, planting seeds. She didn't cheat out of a sudden lapse in judgment. She was building a campaign, and it was working. I left the store without buying anything, drove home with my hands trembling on the wheel, heart pounding in my ears. Inside the house, I walked straight into the office, turned on my computer, and opened our cloud drive. We'd shared everything there. Calendars, photos, documents. I hadn't checked it in weeks. What I found made my stomach turn. There were folders she had created and set to private, but she forgot to remove admin access. Inside, I found a folder labeled Legal Prep. She hadn't just been lying to friends. She hadn't just been rewriting the past. She was preparing for divorce. Quietly, strategically, while still sleeping in my house, still eating my food, still texting Dean behind my back. There were PDFs of bank statements, screenshots of our messages, cherry-picked and out of context. Notes titled Emotional Neglect, specific examples. Half of it was fiction. And then, a draft email to a divorce attorney, timestamped 3 weeks before she even told me she was unhappy. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen, and felt something I hadn't felt since this nightmare began. Clarity. This wasn't a love story gone wrong. This wasn't a good person making a bad choice. This was betrayal with a blueprint. And if she wanted war, I wasn't going to play the villain, but I was going to tell the truth. All of it. The hardest part wasn't that she was planning to leave. The hardest part was realizing she was rehearsing it, behind my back with bullet points and timelines and legal templates. She didn't want a clean break. She wanted to detonate the marriage and walk out of the smoke wearing a halo. And I was just supposed to let it happen. That night, after discovering the legal prep folder, I couldn't sleep. I lay there in bed, alone, scrolling through every photo we'd taken over the last year. The vacations, the brunch selfies, the one where she was laughing so hard wine came out of her nose. I thought that picture meant something. I thought I was capturing happiness. Turns out I was just documenting the background of her affair. She came back the next morning. I wasn't expecting it. No warning, no call. Just the sound of her key failing in the new lock, and then her angry fist pounding the door. "Elliott, open up." I sat on the couch, phone in hand, recording. Not for drama, but because I didn't trust her anymore. Not even a little. She kept knocking. "You've made your point, okay? But we need to talk. You're making this way harder than it has to be." Harder? I opened the door halfway. She looked frayed. Her hair was a mess. No makeup, dark circles under her eyes. And yet, she still had that smug little tilt to her chin, like I had betrayed her. "We need to figure out what this looks like," she said. "If you're going to be petty and change the locks, at least be mature about the rest." I didn't speak. I just stepped aside and let her in. She walked into the living room like she still owned it, like she hadn't tried to rewrite me into a villain in front of everyone we knew, like I hadn't found her detailed plans for how to bleed me dry. "I think we can be civil," she said. "No lawyers. We can divide things fairly. I don't want to fight." That's when I handed her the printout. I had highlighted parts of her draft email, the one to the divorce attorney, the one where she accused me of being controlling, cold, unfit to maintain financial stability. A complete fabrication. Her face went pale. She stared at the paper, then slowly looked up at me. "You went through my files? You left them in our shared cloud. That's a violation of—" "No." I cut her off. "That's transparency. Something you've never offered me." She sat down on the edge of the couch, suddenly unsure of how to breathe. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't crying. I was prepared. And for once, she wasn't. "You lied to your friends. You lied to your therapist. You even lied to yourself. But I'm not going to let you lie in court. She tried to recover. I was scared, Elliott. You were shutting down. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. You knew how to talk to Dean. Her face flinched. I added, and according to this timeline, you started talking to him before you even pretended to talk to me. She stood up fast, like the room was on fire. I didn't come here to be humiliated. No, I said. You came here to control the ending. She stormed out. I didn't follow. But the second she left, something inside me shifted. Not with rage. Not with sadness. With focus. That day I made appointments. First, a consultation with my own lawyer, someone she hadn't gotten to first. Then, I called my boss and asked to go remote for the next few weeks. I told him it was personal. He didn't ask questions. Then, I sent out a group message to a few mutual friends, people I hadn't heard from in weeks. I didn't tell them everything, just enough. Hey, just so you hear it from me, Justine had an affair. She's been planning to leave for months. I'm not perfect, but I didn't deserve this. Please don't get caught in the middle. Only one person replied. Rachel, her old college roommate. She wrote, "You don't have to explain. I always wondered how long it would take for her mask to slip. Let me know if you ever need anything." And that hit harder than anything. Because if even her friends had seen through her and stayed silent, what chance did I ever have? Still, I wasn't done. Because while she was busy rewriting the past, I was about to find something she thought she had buried for good. A hidden message. A forgotten backup. A single, unintentional clue. And what I uncovered next made everything up to that point look like child's play. The thing about people who lie for a living is that eventually, they forget which version of the lie they last told. Justine was slipping, and she didn't even know it. 2 days after our last conversation, I got an email, not from her, not from a lawyer, but from Google. A storage alert. Apparently, one of our old shared photo folders was nearing its limit. I hadn't looked in it for ages. It was one of those forgotten digital graveyards full of half-broken memories. Screenshots, memes, recipes, and videos we'd both backed up automatically from our phones years ago. But for some reason, I clicked on it. Something told me to. Halfway down the folder, I found a subfolder I didn't recognize. It wasn't one she created. It was one the system had generated when her old phone auto-synced. Tucked inside were 5 short videos, all dated 2 months before everything came crashing down. The first was nothing. The second, nothing. But the third was taken from the front seat of a car. She's smiling, angling the camera toward herself, and then toward someone in the driver's seat. Dean, wearing sunglasses, driving her car. She says, "You said we'd never get caught," then laughs, and he reaches over and squeezes her thigh. I paused it. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at the screen. I felt like I'd stepped out of time, out of my body. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was disconnected, like my mind had shut off the emotional alarms and was now operating on cold, pure logic. The fourth video was worse. She's lying in a hotel bed, our hotel, the one we'd stayed at for anniversaries. I recognized the lamps, the headboard. She's whispering into the camera. "He's out of town next week. It'll be perfect." She smirks like it's a game, like betrayal is exciting. The fifth video? I couldn't even finish it. I closed the laptop, walked into the bathroom, splashed water on my face, and just stared at myself in the mirror. Not crying, not yelling, just existing, like a man who's finally understood that his life, everything he thought was safe, had been a carefully constructed illusion. When I calmed down, I did the most rational thing I've ever done. I backed it all up. Secure folders, cloud storage, flash drive. I wasn't going to weaponize it, not unless she forced me to, but I needed to have it. I needed proof, not just for legal reasons. For me. So I'd never again doubt what happened. So I'd never again let her gaslight me into thinking it was all in my head. The next morning, she texted me. Casual. "Can we please talk this weekend? I want to fix this. I want to explain." Explain. That word rang in my ears like a joke I wasn't in on. Still, I agreed. Not because I believed her, but because I wanted to hear what kind of story she'd spin now, knowing what I knew. We met at a neutral cafe, one of those sleek places with exposed brick and cold chairs that pretend to be cozy. She wore a gray sweater and that same performative sadness she used whenever she was about to manipulate someone. "I've been thinking," she started, stirring her tea without drinking it, "about how everything spiraled, about how I lost myself." I said nothing. She continued, "Dean wasn't real. I mean, it was real, but it wasn't me. I wasn't in love with him. It was a distraction, a mistake. And I know you hate me right now, but I swear." "Where was that video taken?" I interrupted. She blinked. "What video?" "The one where you said, 'He's out of town next week. It'll be perfect.' That one." Her mouth hung open, pale, dead quiet. "I found the old autosync," I added. "Your phone uploaded everything before you deleted it, including your little road trip with him, the hotel, the bed you filmed yourself in, the one we used to celebrate our anniversary." She didn't speak. She couldn't. I leaned back, calm. "So before you start rewriting history again, I want you to understand something very clearly. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt. I'm just awake." Still nothing. I stood up, grabbed my coffee, and turned to leave. But then she grabbed my wrist. "Please," she whispered. "You don't have to destroy me. I made a mistake. One horrible mistake. I was lost." "No," I said, shaking her off. "You were careful. And now I am too." And I walked out. Later that night, I received an email from her lawyer. She was filing officially. Should have felt like closure. But I had no idea the storm that was about to hit me wasn't from her. It was from him. Because Dean wasn't done. I thought I was done with Dean. I thought he was just some faceless guy, some smug placeholder with a good smile and zero depth. But that illusion shattered 3 days after the cafe meeting with Justine, when I opened my inbox and saw the subject line. "I owe you the truth." It was from him, Dean. I stared at it for a full 10 minutes before I clicked. My hands didn't shake this time. I wasn't scared. I was just curious. Morbidly curious, like standing in front of a locked room you swore you'd never open again. Inside was a short message. "Elliott, you don't know me, but I know who you are. She told me you were cold, disconnected, said you slept in separate rooms, that you didn't care. I believed her. I shouldn't have. I didn't know you were still married. Not really. She said it was over and she was staying until the paperwork was done. But then she slipped. She said something she shouldn't have. That this wasn't her first time. That she knew how to handle exits. I don't want anything from you. Just thought you should know she's done this before. I'm not the first. Probably won't be the last. I'm sorry, Dean." The room spun. "Done this before?" That phrase echoed through me like a siren. Not because I was surprised. No, I think part of me knew. Somewhere deep in my gut, I'd always suspected there were pieces of her past that didn't quite line up. Half-told stories. Work friends I never met. That weekend trip to Austin with her cousin that somehow never made it into our photo albums. I wanted to scream. Instead, I forwarded the email to my lawyer with a short note, relevant character reference. But that night, I didn't sleep. I pulled out my old journals. Yeah, I keep journals, don't judge. And started reading entries from 5-6 years ago. That's when I found it. A short line from the fall of 2017. Justine's going to that conference alone again. 2nd year in a row. Different city this time. Weird, she packed 3 dresses for 2 days. It meant nothing then. It meant everything now. She'd been doing this longer than I knew. Carefully. Quietly, like it was normal, like this was just part of how she processed boredom, by manufacturing exits and walking away from people who still thought they were in the room. And she always made it their fault. I sat at my desk until sunrise, tracing her patterns backward. The moments she picked fights out of nowhere, the sudden silences, the fake apologies, the tears that came too fast, dried too quickly. She was a ghost in real time, always fading before I could notice. But something about Dean's message stuck with me. She knew how to handle exits. like it was a game. Like relationships were doors she locked from the outside and walked away from smiling. And that's when I decided I wouldn't let her control the ending. Not this time. I printed the email and mailed a copy to myself. Unopened. Postmarked. Legal proof. Then I compiled everything, the videos, the texts, the photos, the timelines, the email, and handed it to my attorney with only one instruction. If she tries to manipulate this in court, we respond with truth. Not revenge. Just facts. He nodded. This won't end how she expects. And it didn't. Because the next week, I got a call from her attorney. They wanted to discuss a private settlement. No hearing, no public record, just clean, quiet division. Translation. She was panicking. I said I'd consider it. But before I could even respond officially, I got one more message. This time it wasn't from Dean. It was from someone named Catherine. A name I didn't recognize. Subject line. You don't know me, but I know what she did to my brother. Catherine's message felt like the final missing piece to a puzzle I never asked to solve. She introduced herself as the sister of Justine's ex-fiancé, a man named Blake I'd never heard of. They were engaged a year before she met me. The engagement ended abruptly, and until now, the details had always been vague. It didn't work out, she once told me. He wasn't ambitious enough. But Catherine's version? A completely different picture. Apparently, Justine had cheated on Blake too. Not just once, but repeatedly. She'd even gone so far as to fake a pregnancy scare to keep him from leaving when she sensed he was pulling away. She isolated him from friends, made him question himself, and when the guilt didn't work anymore, she left him and told everyone he had commitment issues. Sound familiar? Catherine had heard about me through a mutual acquaintance. Someone who saw Justine's vague Facebook post and put two and two together. I just thought you deserved to know you're not crazy, she wrote. She's done this before. It's not you. It was never you. I read that last line maybe 10 times. It was never me. That truth hit like sunlight through stained glass. Painful, yes, but also beautiful in a way. Not because it erased the damage, but because it finally placed the weight of the blame where it belonged. I wasn't broken. She just picked me because she knew I'd try to fix what she was already planning to destroy. The court process ended quickly after that. She didn't fight. Her lawyer proposed an even split, no alimony, no drama. It was as if she knew I had everything ready, and she didn't want the truth leaking into the open. And I didn't need revenge. I needed peace. And that's exactly what I got. A few weeks after the papers were signed, I moved out of the house, not out of defeat but by choice. I didn't want her ghosts in my kitchen or her shadow in my bed. I rented a small place outside the city. Quiet, modest, but full of light. I adopted a dog. Started running again. Saw a therapist, a real one with no agenda. And for the first time in years, I laughed without guilt. One night, I sat on my new porch watching the rain and thought about everything I'd been through. The lies, the manipulation, the mind games. And then I remembered the fruit salad. That dumb little container I bought to surprise her at work. The one she laughed at. Felt like a different life. Now I buy fruit for myself. And I don't apologize for wanting to be loved the way I love. Justine texted me once more after everything was over. Just 2 words. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Because some doors don't need to be slammed. Some just need to be locked quietly, permanently, and left behind for good. Thanks for watching this emotional journey here on Reddit Confessions. If you've ever been in a relationship where the truth came out in ways you didn't expect, or if you've ever had someone try to rewrite your story, share it in the comments. We'd love to hear your side. And remember, healing doesn't always look like revenge. Sometimes it looks like choosing yourself.